Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back. This week, considering it's Q4, literally today, we are excited to be talking about how to essentially just kind of set intentions, keep your big dreams big, and actually do the things you want to do over the next few months ahead of entering a new year, where you'll find that everyone else is kind of setting their goals for the first time. I think it's really nice to kind of like take this time of the year, especially when it's cold, dark, and like socially could be a little bit quiet, to just like focus on your goals, kind of retrack or like realign yourself from summertime, and just feel on top of things. Because I just feel like it's a really nice, like, actionable time of the year. Just because I think for me as well, like, I like my years to start from September. Like, I love the academic calendar. I think I'll always stick to it. And I feel like having the like September to December, like, little tailwind behind you of like momentum over moving towards your goals is just a nice way to then like actually start the new year as well. But Farah, you were telling me about when it comes to kind of like dreaming big and going after the things you want. You were telling me about more quotes from Tamkor's book because we do love her, so we've been quoting her a lot recently. So tell me a little bit about that quote in that section that you were reading.
Yes, with pleasure. So, one part of the book kind of talked about your environment and how that impacts the things that you strive for, like the way you kind of live your life in general. And she actually touched on something that I'd experienced in my own personal life, and I'd never really seen it in the light that she'd seen it. So, she explained how I think this was during her uni time, she had a group of friends who were super supportive, like a really nice group of girls. It wasn't like a bad friendship circle, but while she was striving for things in her personal life, in her career, while she was starting up her social media pages and just doing things quite different to what the other girls are doing in the friendship group, she would be met with a lot of like support and praise for what she was doing, but to an extent where she felt like it was holding her back because they were so shocked and surprised by all these things that she was achieving all of the time, and because it was so foreign to them, and because it was so out of the ordinary, these things that she was doing and these things that she was like striving for, she found herself constantly being like put on a pedestal when she felt like she wasn't really even anywhere near the goals that like the bigger goals that she set for herself. So she kind of felt like she was in this environment that was kind of holding her back, in the sense that they were seeing these little things that she was doing and her getting started on her journey as like the biggest, most incredible thing ever, which I guess it makes sense. Over time you're going to start to believe that you maybe, like, the things that you want to do that are even bigger than what you're doing already is like too big, and is something that like maybe it's too much to strive for. Maybe I should just be happy where I am now and be complacent. And I feel like that kind of energy I've had in the last couple of years in my own life, I would say. Not necessarily because other people have been blowing smoke off my backside, but just because I don't know, maybe felt in myself that I was achieving things that I was shocked that I even achieved. And I was like, oh, I had these goals and I actually made it. And now I'm done. But I think I've suddenly reached this point where I'm like, oh no, I've been getting in my own way. I had way further to go, and I had these big dreams, and I had all these things that I was meant to do after I got these, like, reached these other goals that were the smaller goals, and these were only meant to be stepping stones. These weren't the destination. And I kind of lost that myself a little bit on the way. And maybe it was an element of people. Actually, yeah, I think I fell into that trap myself, where people would be like, oh my God, you've got this many followers and you've worked with this brand and you've done this thing. And to me, it was shocking too. And I feel like I got wrapped up in like, oh, I've done all I can do. And I've reached this stage where I never thought I would ever reach. So I should be happy and settled and I should like call it a day now. And I kind of mentally did that, and then but not realizing how much that would affect my physical, like, sense of, okay, my goals now, I'm not really like striving for them as much, and I'm not taking them as seriously because I've become complacent and comfortable in where I'm at. And there's a few elements as to why like I ended up doing that. And but now that I know that that's kind of where I ended up, I feel this like newborn fire in my belly to like actually go after like all these other things that I knew I wanted for a long time, but now I feel like the drive is even stronger. And I have just come off a 2 week holiday, and I feel like that is also always something that kicks me up the backside when I come home and I'm like, oh, there is so much bigger of a world out there and opportunities and just life to be lived. And I feel like we forget that so much when we're like stuck in our own little bubble, and like you work from home and you work with these people and you have the same network and you have like this small circle and you do the same things every day. And when you're in that routine, it's so hard to see beyond it until you like actually force yourself out of it. And a holiday is not really meant to be this like thing that, you know, opens your eyes to the world so much. It's just meant to, you know, like give you a bit of a break. But I think because it's been so long since I've like been shifted out of this routine that I've had for a very, very long time now, it's really, I don't know, it's just like shocked me a little bit, and it's just made me go back to that place of, oh, I have places I want to be and I have a big drive to like get there now. So reading that quote also like in tandem with like just feeling the way I'm feeling currently was so mind-blowing to me, because I was like, oh, it's not good to actually always feel like, yeah, I'm at the top of my game, even when I'm just getting started. Like, you can be proud of yourself, but don't let yourself be complacent, because there's so much further you can take things.
Yeah, I think it's that complacency that's dangerous, isn't it?
Mm.
And I quite like that quote as well, because like it's happened to me as well, where like I'll get praise simply because I'm doing something that's very different to what a lot of people are traditionally doing to make money and like build a business and do all these things, right? So I think naturally when you step outside of a conventional box, you'll either get people being like, what the hell are you doing? Or you'll get people like praising you for it, which might make you feel like, okay, I've stepped out of the box, I'll just stay here now. Whereas when you step out of the box, that means there is no box. So I think it's a nice way to like reframe the praise that you get from people is, yeah, like you said, like use it to feel proud of you actually taking the steps towards like what you're doing. But I think a way I, as you were speaking, kind of realized that like I use this praise to affirm that I am doing the right thing in terms of like, okay, it feels good to be like making the decisions I'm making, and everyone else thinks it's good, so I'll just keep going. Like, I'll just see where else I could go. And I feel like that's probably a delusional characteristic that I have a little bit, but I think I am also slightly delusional in terms of like I dream so big, Farah. Like, I don't know if I've even told you, I'm not even engaged, right? So if I ever have a wedding, do you know who I literally want on my guest list?
Who?
Shah Rukh Khan.
Stop it! That was not what I expected.
I want Shah Rukh Khan at my wedding, and I have like a really well thought out
Just
reason.
chilling.
No, we get kind of
Okay,
just chilling, but also
expand.
like because I want this really nice like Scottish Indian fusion reception in the Highlands. In my head, I'm like, I want him to come, and then I want my wedding to be like in Vogue. Like, and this is literally delusional, but for me, I'm
But
like,
you know
well, why
what?
not? Like, why can I not DM him
Yeah.
every year and just be like, yo?
Get that reminder in the calendar. Time to DM Shah Rukh Khan and invite him to my wedding. No, I love that for you though. I think that is the, like, that's where all our mindsets should be, because like you said, why the hell not? Like, what's the harm in wanting that? What's the harm in trying to make that happen? Literally nothing. And I think being delusional is so underrated. And that also comes in the form of, you know, manifesting, attracting things into your life. Is if you literally feel like there's no limits to like what you can do in your life, then who's there to tell you that there is? Like, who's going to tell you that you can't do these things or these things aren't going to happen for you? Because they know, as much as they think it can't happen, it could be the opposite too. Like, how do they have all the answers in terms of like, oh, this isn't a possibility? How do they know that? Because it hasn't happened yet. And it could.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah. And also if you just say that out loud, like there are no limits to anything. Like who made the rules on anything in this world
Actually.
apart from illegal things?
Yeah, we'll
You know what
stay
I
away
mean?
from those.
Like
But aside from that,
but aside from that, like there is no rules, there's no guidebook. We are literally all on a floating rock. You can dream as big as you want to dream, and you can also go after those dreams. And I think the delusional thinking thing has to be like also coupled with that sense of practicality and like I don't know how to phrase it because this is the big sister in me thinking like, okay, I want Shah Rukh Khan at my wedding, but I'm not going to be like upset and cancel my wedding if he's not there. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go out of my way to like get him there.
no, I get you. I think it's just a case of acknowledging, okay, this is something that I want. And then it's that detachment that you have to it. So it's like yeah, you want this to happen and you're really excited for it to happen and you feel like it's definitely a possibility because why on earth wouldn't it be? But I'm detached. So whether it happens or not, the wedding's going ahead. We're not cancelling a thing. And we won't be heartbroken on our own wedding day if Shah Rukh Khan doesn't turn up. But like that's something that you've kind of put in the universe and it's out there now.
Yeah, you know what? I actually love that. And I forgot about that. I always forget about acceptance and what did you just call it?
Detachment.
Detachment. Acceptance and detachment. I always forget about that because yeah, that's such an important part of like dreaming big and aiming high. It's kind of like you put it out in the universe, so it's in the universe, and then you kind of like do the things as
Around
if
it.
it's coming to you because you've put it in the universe.
Yeah, but do you know what I struggle with a lot of the time when I'm on my manifesting journey is like knowing how something's gonna happen. Like I need to know how, I need to know the steps, I need to know like in what order things are gonna happen and how it's gonna be done. And you can't. Some things are inexplainable. You know, like what's crazy about the world is things will happen and you can't even explain how they happened or how you even got there because it just happens. And you know that, but then when I'm like wanting something to happen, I'm like, but how is it going to happen? Like I need to know the answers, and I find it very hard to like get myself out of that mindset.
I can be the same because I like love, I will die for details. Like I love details and I love like
I
specifics.
like being
Yeah.
organized. I like
I like
knowing
my
things.
calendar being full of the things that I want.
Yeah, and I like understanding when they're coming and how they're going to work out and like all the details. I need them, but you can't have them, and that's something I need to like learn better to detach from because as soon as I do, these things happen. Do you know what's crazy is I don't know if I've told you this, but I definitely mentioned it on my Instagram story the other day. It's just so minute, by the way, but it's just an example of like how things can actually work out. So I had this picture on my vision board, and weirdly, so I created this vision board maybe a year or two ago when I had, and it was basically a photo of this girl sitting at a restaurant on a rooftop, and there's a Burj Khalifa behind her, and it's just like a cityscape, like it's such a beautiful like vibe, and the photo is just, I don't know why I even picked it. I was just like, I want to be that girl. Like I want that vibe for my own life because it obviously looked like she was in a really lush place. She had like amazing scenery, and Dubai is like one of my favorite places. So I picked that photo and I put it on my vision board. I had not even a flight booked to Dubai. I had no intention of going to Dubai like in the foreseeable future at the time that I put this photo on my vision board. And I just put it there because I was like, I want to travel more at some point, but I never really had, I didn't have the connection to, okay, it's going to be Dubai. I just wanted that, like, what looked like her lifestyle was in that photo. Fast forward to literally 2 weeks ago, I took a photo on a rooftop in Dubai and it had the exact same vibe. Like, you can put both photos together and it's literally like the same vibe, the same everything. And I didn't even clock what I was doing at that moment, or like I didn't even clock what was happening. And the weirdest part was I didn't book a specific restaurant for us to have that view. Like it was very much like an off the cuff experience. So we went to downtown for dinner. We knew we were gonna like visit that area. Now, I had no idea that you can actually sit in a restaurant in downtown, have a view of the fountains. I didn't even know that was a thing. We got there, Sunny picked our restaurant. Um, Obviously, when I realised where we were, I was like, okay, I want to sit outside. And that was as much control as I had of the situation. And then, like I always do, I took an outfit photo because that's what I do regardless. And then I don't know what triggered the memory, but then I think when I posted that photo to Instagram, I was like, this photo looks really familiar. And then I don't know, something triggered my memory to my vision board, so I went back to look at my vision board, and I was like, I think I made that happen. I made that happen. I don't even know how I did it. And it's just crazy the power of you, like, just envisage. I can never say this word, and it annoys me so bad. I need a new word. But you picturing yourself doing, like, in a certain energy and like doing certain things, or like just where you want your life to be, you actually having an image in mind for that, so freaking powerful. And I forgot the power of that, and then seeing that come to life, I was like, I didn't have to know how that was going to happen. I didn't know that was going to happen. I had like no, like there was no part of me that was like trying to orchestrate that moment. It just happened.
And funnily enough, if you literally got sent the like instructions or like the details for like how that moment was going to happen, you would have looked at that and been like, "Oh, I'll do that anyway. It's fine."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like it's almost like you want these details, but you know you're going to actually do the things like that are going to get you this vision board worthy goal. So it's like you almost don't need to know the details. So I like that, even that happening in terms of like you booking this place, getting the outfit shot. And I actually did see that the post
Did
that you
you?
put up, and I was like, because I swear you've done that before in terms of like
I think I might have.
maybe your engagement or something, or like something on
I
your vision
did
board
my
happened in real
ring.
life.
Oh my god, I have. That's so weird. I forgot.
You're forgetting about your own
No, that's
manifestations.
crazy. I actually completely forgot about that. Yeah, my ring, my exact ring that I literally wear every day now, was on my vision board, and Sonny hadn't seen it, and I didn't pick my own ring. And yeah, I showed him inspo of like what I wanted, but he had to go out and find it. Like all he had was a photo. So yeah, I've done it before. So it just goes to show, like, if you have to be very clear in your mind of what you want, but you don't necessarily have to know like where it's going to come from. And yeah, that's a good reminder for myself, and hopefully anyone listening, that you don't need to know how things are going to happen in your life. You just need to know what you want and know that it's possible.
Yeah, I think that clarity is like super super duper important because I think you need the clarity to actually even it needs to be so clear like what you want at the end of anything because that vision needs to compel you when it feels like you're not going to get there or when like times are a little bit tough. Like that vision needs to be so like for example, if you're training for a marathon or something, like you need to be able to see yourself crossing that finish. If you can't, then how are you going to get through like the really tough rainy outdoor training session? If you can't see yourself actually finishing, how can you actually pull yourself through like tougher times? And I think there's a quote I really like for like big dreams and being able to like visualize big dreams because it's so important to see it in your mind. And it's I feel like it's something like behind every impossible achievement is a dreamer of impossible dreams. And like that's it's literally fact. Like there's so many achievements out there that you'd look at and be like, what the hell? And someone out there aimed for that and then got it. Like it's literally that's why that impossible achievement is real. And I also think there's like when we set goals and when we dream big and when we achieve big, we do that goal setting process twice. We create our goals twice, right? Like for example, you getting that like meal picture or like that moment in Dubai that like represented a lot for you in your life, right? You imagine that twice because you pictured it, put it on your vision board, and then it happened and you took that picture, right? So that it happened for you twice. Same thing with your ring. You had that vision in mind in your head, and then Sonny went and got that ring in real life. And same thing for like literally I got my first pull up a few weeks ago, and I've been in my head like imagining myself doing a pull up for like years because it's been something I've really wanted to do. Like it's been like a big fitness goal of mine. So I've just been like casually in my head, I always just imagine myself being like whoop. And it was clear in my mind because of like low key how desperate I was to be able to like do it, but also I knew like what I would look like doing it because I've been watching other people doing pull-ups. I've been watching myself do all these practice things, right? So I did it in my mind first, and then a few weeks ago, I did it in real life. So with all these goals, it's like you have to do it twice, and the easier one to do is the one in your mind. So just do the one in your mind first and like make it super clear because like that is like the order of things happening because that's how everything happens. It happens in your head first and then it happens in real life. And I feel like sometimes because there's sometimes I felt that like it's really hard to visualize my goal. Like there's some things I've always felt, oh, I can't see that in my head. And you know what I could never see in my head? Me as a manager in corporate. Like, and I used to complain about it because I would say to like people at work, like I can't see what I'd look like as a director. I can't see what I'd look like leading this team and doing all this stuff. And it's because it was either never meant for me or it was never truly a goal of mine. Like that's why I couldn't piece together that visualization in my head. And I really strongly believe in that as well. Like in terms of like finding a good way to maybe cancel out the things that you think you want versus the things that you can easily see that could happen for yourself in the future.
Yeah, I think your mindset towards things and just like your thoughts are so powerful that we don't even realize, like you mentioned, the the first step and sometimes the hardest is to visualize something because you haven't then you realize the gaps in like what you actually want. Like say you're wanting a new car, but you just want something. You just know you want something better than the one you already have, for example. But you have no idea what make that is, what color that is, like what the interior looks like. And you could be so unsatisfied with the next car you get because you don't actually know what you already want. And that's just a very like basic level of an example of like whatever you're striving for in your life, if you don't know the detail, you don't have to know the details of how it's going to come into your life, but you need to know the details of like what you want to see or what that thing looks like. Because until you understand that, then without having that clear picture, you'll never even know if you've like reached that goal entirely anyway, when it does come into your life. And I think it just makes it in every sense of the word of achieving a goal, it makes things so much better. Like it makes it easier for you to be motivated because you're like excited. Oh, this is exactly what I want and it's coming. It also makes it easier to come into your life and quicker because it's that exact, like the clarity that you have over that thing, you will know as soon as you've achieved it because you've literally carved out this thing in its entirety in your mind first. And I think once you've kind of done that already in your head, it does make it easier to like not doubt like if you can achieve something later on because you've already pictured it. I feel like you said, when you can't picture something and when you're struggling with like creating that image in your mind, you always create that sense of doubt that it could ever happen in reality. So like you not being able to picture yourself as manager, instantly you're like, well, that's never gonna happen then. Do you know what I mean? Like by default, you're like, if you can't picture something in your brain, you know subconsciously that's not going to come into your reality because you can't even imagine it. And you can imagine anything because it doesn't have to come in front of
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Like you have nothing stopping you from actually thinking
Literally,
about it.
like
Yeah.
whatever is in your head, it doesn't even have to be real. So if you can't conjure up that imagination of what that thing looks like or that goal or what that feels like, that is not something that will actually become a reality because the first step is it being in your head. And I feel like we forget that a lot of the time. We forget that, oh, you need a bit of clarity and like knowing what you actually want and the specifics of what you want. Like you could say, oh, I want to be successful, I want to be happy. What do those things mean? Like,
And also, I think it's like you can think, like, what is your opinion on like visualizing a feeling? Because, see, success, I want to be successful. That's really hard to pinpoint like an image or like a visualization for. But I could very easily right now, like, close my eyes and like feel the feeling of like, I feel like good about like what I've just done. And like, I feel like I'm a success and I feel like I've achieved like my goals. Like you can create that like feeling in your head without it necessarily needing like a visual. What's your opinion on
Like
that?
to be attached to something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like how I would do that myself, because I feel like whenever I feel a certain way, it's attached to like a moment, or like something happening that's like evoked an emotion from me. So if I was to like just conjure that emotion, I would still, in terms of success, what I would still have to identify what does success mean to me, because if I'm trying to manifest that into my life, I need to know, okay, well, does that mean having a big flashy job? Does that mean just feeling this emotion every day? Does that mean me having a big family, loads of kids? Does that mean me having a mansion? Like, what does that mean? Me traveling a lot? I'd still have to know what I define success, because that word is so subjective, and I feel like we just throw it out there as if like it means the same to everyone, and it really doesn't. So with things like that, I would still say like you have to be very clear on like what's getting that feeling for you, because if you're trying to be successful in things, you'd hope that that thing is what's evoking that emotion of you like feeling joy or peace or whatever it is that you're feeling in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I think I don't know, there's been times where like I can like close my eyes. Like for example, like pass an exam. Like you can close
Yeah.
your eyes and like imagine what it feels like to be like, "Oh, I've passed. Like I haven't
But that's
failed."
what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like you've attacked, like that feeling you've got is from that thing that is a result of,
I
if that
see.
makes
Yeah,
sense.
okay, yeah.
So it's not like out of thin air, like because if you're happy in life, they're great, but like that's your life currently. But if you're thinking, oh, I want to get something into my life and this is how it's going to make me feel, you just have to be very sure on what that actual thing is.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing specific, then that's not manifesting. You're just like happy and like feeling grateful in the present, which is also great, but that's like a different process.
When you're trying to set intentions for the next few months, get really clear on what that intention looks like in your head and create that first version of it. Thank you for listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, please give us a little like and comment down below what your intentions are for the next few months. And don't forget to subscribe. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, don't forget to follow our podcast and give us a 5-star rating. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.